Hi, I'm Matt Spade of the Shamokin History Channel. First of all, thank you for watching. The video you're about to see is a conversation that I recorded with my mom and dad back in November of 2023. I always thought it would be interesting to record their story, even if it was just a conversation of the two of them on a couch talking about what it was like growing up in Shamokin. I think everybody should do this. You have a phone in your pocket that records video if your parents are still alive, if your grandparents are still alive. Record their story. You never know what you'll learn. You never know what you'll find out. I hesitated to release this for a while because I didn't think it was going to be interesting to anyone. But some of you who are from the area might appreciate some of their stories. It might work if you know them. And if you don't know them, hopefully it would spread a little bit of light on what it was like growing up in the Shamokin Cole Township area during that time. Speaking of Shamokin Cole Township, they talk a little bit about the rivalry. And yes, I encourage dialogue, but this is my mom and dad, so if you're going to leave a comment, be nice. Anyway, enjoy the video. Thank you for watching. And if you don't already subscribe to the channel, please do. Thank you, and enjoy the conversation with Jake and Georgia Spade.
My name is Georgia Midway Spade. I was born in Shamokin, Pennsylvania, at the Shamokin Hospital in 1941. Now you know how old I am. Mm-hmm. The Shamokin rivalry with Cole Township was something that was very, very big. I grew up in the 50s in high school, and that was our biggest rivalry. It all, I think, dwelled around the football game and the football teams. Shamokin had a good football team, and so did Cole Township. Cole Township had bigger guys, that were rough and tough. And the game would be packed. It would be absolutely packed. And it was funny because at Cole Township Stadium, you had to run uphill to make a touchdown. And we all laughed about that from Shamokin.
They gained a 19.
And so I remember one year our cheerleaders, we all got together and made a float, the people from Shamokin. And the float never made it to the game because the Cole Township blocked the streets, and they threw tomatoes at the float and the kids on the float. So the float never made it to the football game. There used to be a song that saying that we would say, "Maroon and gray, that's okay. Purple and white stinks all right." That's what we used to say. My youngest brother he was 8 years younger than me. He was still in school when the split came. He wasn't happy. He was, from Shamokin naturally, and he was just not happy. And in fact, there were a lot of other people that I knew 20 years after the split that would not wear purple because when we merged, we were the Shamokin Greyhounds, and of course, Cole Township was where they were the Purple Demons. Well, they kept the colors, but they gave the name the Shamokin Indians. And we just felt that purple was a bad color. And so finally, most of us, resolved to the fact, come on, it's just a color. Oh, my dad, he was very intelligent. He had to quit school and help out at home. Well, then he got married later on in life. He started out as an iceman. There was no electricity, no electric refrigerators. And you used to put a little square cardboard card in your window. It would tell you how many pounds of ice you wanted delivered that week. He ended up as a coal inspector. His father worked in the coal mines. When coal started to go out, the industry was closing down. He got a job at Rosini's as a coal inspector there. And so he would climb up on the cars and take a sample of the coal and burn it and test the ash just to make sure that the coal was, okay.
What about Nan? What's...
Before she was married, she worked in a flower shop in Mount Carmel because she was from Mount Carmel, Diamond Town. She had a beautiful voice, and she would sing in the choir. Their choir from the Russian Orthodox Church used to travel around to the different churches and different schools and colleges and sing. They were well known, and their music was absolutely beautiful. And that's how she met my father. What I remember most about Shamokin was after supper, the neighbors would sit out on their porches and they would talk to each other. There were no cell phones. There were party line phones. But and they would sit out on their porch and they would, talk. And the kids would go out and play. You didn't have to worry about them. You just went, down the corner, and then it was time to come in. Your mother would come out and yell for you, and you would come home. Saturday morning there was curbside market. And we used to love to go down to market and just meet everybody. It was a social event, plus they had good food to buy, good produce. Before the malls came, you could go downtown and go to any store. You could buy anything. I was ready to vote. And of course, at that time, we had somebody, would take you, to register for voting. At that time, you had to be 21. I was all ready to vote to register as a Democrat. When we were leaving, one of our neighbors took us. I won't mention any names because he was a nice guy.
Scandal.
Oh,
Sorry. Go ahead.
woo! Anyway, we got in the car, and I don't know, I said something about, registering as Democrat. And I think the car stopped, and all of a sudden it's like, no, you can't do that. I said, what do you mean I can't do that? You have to register Republican. You live in Shamokin. And I thought, nobody told me that. And they said, if you don't register Republican, you're not going to get anything at all in this town. I mean, you have to be registered Republican because Henry Lark was the head of the party, and he was, he was the main man. And if you needed something, you went to Henry. And if you weren't registered Republican, goodbye.
My name is Jake Spade. I was born in 1939, March 22nd. I was born in Paxinus, PA, at home. No hospital. I'm one of 11 children. Well, at first I went to the McKinley School for four grades, then I went to Catholic school, and then I went to St. Ed's, but I was raised in Cole Township, and I met this Shamokin girl, Shamokin Greyhound girl, and I was told by my fellow friends, you mean to tell me you're going to get hooked up with a Greyhound? I'm a speed boy.
That's St. Ed's, right?
St. Ed's speed boy. I was raised in Cole Township, but I went to Catholic high school. I didn't go to Cole Township. I didn't go to Shamokin, but I went to St. Ed's. And a lot of my friends were from Cole Township. Of course, I played football with Nanny Miller's Cardinals, and I was a West Ender. And that's where Cole Township was, in the West End. So I was basically a Cole Township demon more than a Greyhound. Oh, we never fought over it. We loved each other no matter what. We never brought that into our marriage. Yeah, I helped my father in he had a mine he opened for himself, him and another retired miner to open a coal hole. I worked in as a shoveling coal, pushing coal, doing all odds and ends. Not a miner. I wasn't a miner.
Right.
If you worked in the strip and you worked on the outside all the time, if you worked in the mines, you went down in. Then I was working with my father, and they called them partners then. And the cable cut loose, and his car come down, this buggy come down, and it made such a loud thrash. I thought my father, and I thought that his buddy, who was Charlie Griffiths, I thought they were buried alive. I thought they were dead. And I got out, and I never went back. The next day, I started with Wises and stayed there 50 years. The fire horns were put on City Hall, where if there was a major fire in town, when they first come out with the alarm system, if you pulled an alarm box, it sounded at City Hall. And that would ring, and they knew by the ring, it had a certain ring, what location of town it was in, whether it was in the Fifth Ward, whether it was in the West End or East End of town, whichever end of town it was, they knew by the ring. Yeah, I was the captain at the Independence, the old Graybeards. And I was the first Catholic that was taken into the company at that time, because they were called the Graybeards because and they were good men, but they stuck to what they believed in.
Were you a firefighter when the Walnut Towers?
Yes.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Wow. Were you on the site?
No, I wasn't on the site because I was home. I had a bone taken out of my hip and put in my ankle. I was home then at the present time. Yeah, St. Ed's. I was on the St. Ed's.
I know it's kind
Holy Thursday.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, Holy Thursday, the alarm came about 2:15 in the morning. All the companies responded. We went over. We were getting ready to leave. We turned around, we looked, and all of a sudden we seen all these flames coming out of the top of the roof. It was engulfed in flames, the whole roof, the whole sides of the roof, right around the whole square. It was Holy Thursday. We had from the Cole Township Fire Departments to the Cole Township, if we needed help, we would call them, and they would assist us. If they needed help, we would assist them. And anytime their alarms rang, we had fire companies would go to one of their stations and be what they call them standby in case they had something happen locally in their area.
Okay.
Not all the companies responded, just like the company closest on the east or west end of town, or if it was in Thorpe Town, or depending where the fire was, a company would go to the nearest station to where they would have to respond.
Sure.
They had a good system. I mean, they took care of each other. The cars, and it was good because they had communication back then with the two-way radios and.
CB and all that worked.
Well, you could be an A member at one and a B member at the other. You could join as many fire companies as you want as a B member, but only one as an A member. What they call an A member is a regular member,
Right.
which is a beneficiary member. Which I'm a life member at the Independence, which I still get. Mom gets, I think, $500 or $800 if I kick the bucket, or when I kick the bucket. Shamokin was always a good place where, like, say in the fire department with fighting fires, when you were done, like, say, if you went to a home, there was a home on fire, and how the neighboring people treated you. They brought coffee out to you. Some people brought baked goods out to the firemen. They always, especially in cold weather, and the Salvation Army was always there. Growing up in Cole Township and living in Shamokin, no matter what part of town I went, Cole Township or Shamokin, I always met a great handful of really nice, friendly people, all around. Whether you were Polish, Italian, or whatever nationality you were, Irish, everybody seemed to get along good. And as a group of young boys running around in a gang of 8 or 10 of us, we would go to everybody's house. Everybody was treated the same. We all got the same homemade wine and snuck their beer. The same old thing. They knew we were doing it, but they never punished us hard because we didn't have big fancy cars. We all was on Shoe Leather Express.
Right.
So nobody had cars to go around, and so we were safe. But it was against the law, but we still had underage drinking,
Yep. All right.
But it was great growing up in that area.
Yes,
And then I
it
met
was, yes.
the love of my life. and the rest is history.